Single parents, who's out there with me? Seriously, I know you're probably wrestling with like three things at once just listening to this. Ever feel like time's on fast forward and your to-do list is like self-replenishing?
Well, hit
You
it
go,
up.
okay, check it off, bam, 10 more things pop up? Yeah, not just you. That's why we're doing this deep dive today, straight into 10 practical time management tips for busy single parents. But before you're like, great, one more thing to do. This isn't about adding on, it's about using what you've already got, but better. Okay, so picture it. It's morning, not like spam music, peaceful morning, more like Hurricane Cheerios, lost permission slips, and the daily shoe hunt that rivals an Easter egg scramble. You know what I'm talking about.
Oh, that's just the intro, right? The source gets real about that feeling of always being on, like that mental load they talk about. Single parents, it's like a hidden superpower nobody asked for.
Truth. It's why this deep dive matters. It's not filling your day more, it's getting some of you back. That time we all crave.
Exactly. And not just clock time, but like headspace, energy to actually enjoy your kids, maybe even, dare I say, a minute for yourself without the guilt trip.
Guilt-free self-care as a single parent. That's like advanced level stuff. But this source, it's not about some impossible life makeover. It's small tweaks.
Right.
Tiny things that build up over time. Like even just a little mindfulness.
That's what I like. It's realistic. Life with kids solo. It's not about finding perfect zen. It's those little snatches of peace in the crazy. A few minutes of mindfulness, that can actually make a difference. And I don't mean finding an hour to meditate when you haven't peed alone in a year. It's using the time you already have. Water boiling, deep breaths, carpool line. Instead of that phone, just be there for a minute.
Steal those moments wherever you can. But gotta be real, right? Deep dive wouldn't be real if we didn't talk challenges. This source, it nailed a few. That work kids in me juggling act, falling into that I gotta do it all trap and that invisible load we keep coming back to.
Oh, we're gonna unpack those. But sneak peek, we're tackling asking for help without feeling like a failure, because it's not. Some seriously sneaky, time-saving hacks, and that good enough thing, that's gonna be big.
Oh, good enough is my new mantra, trust me. But first, something I know we all adore as single parents, to-do lists. Said no one ever. I'm a list person, always have been. But even I learned from this source. It's not just writing it down, it's how it's structured that matters. 100%. It's being strategic, source says. Break down the big, scary tasks like adulting monster under the bed, into tiny steps. Because staring at a massive to-do list when you're already running on fumes? Recipe for disaster, or at least a whole lot of procrastination. But here's the genius part. It's also about what's not on the list. Seriously. What can you ditch today without derailing your entire life?
Permission to ditch stuff. Game changer. It's about being intentional, right? Focusing on what matters, which leads us to values-based time management. Sounds kind of jargony, I know. Bear with me.
Easy to get lost in the daily grind, especially solo parenting. Source boils it down to family, work, you. Not equal slices, though. It's about being intentional with the time in each. Okay, gotta admit, when they said schedule dedicated personal time, I was like, when exactly? But they make a good point. It's not selfish, it's essential. Think about it. What makes you you again? Not just mom or dad. What refills your tank?
And even little bits help. Seriously, 15 minutes a day can be huge to prevent those epic meltdowns. Yours, Andy, theirs.
You're speaking my language. Speaking of, remember those hacks I promised? Get ready, because this source delivers one that jumped out. Block scheduling. And before you're like, scheduling is what got me here. Hear me out.
It's not about this rigid, color-coded thing ruling your life. That'd just be more stress, right? It's like giving your day a backbone so you're not always scrambling.
What am I forgetting?
Yeah.
Wow, you've got a structure, even if things go off the rails. I like it. They even said use visuals, calendars, whiteboards, whatever works.
Right. Whatever helps you stick to it, or at least have it to come back to when life happens,
Speaking of sticking to it, morning routine. And I don't just mean getting everyone fed and dressed, though I wouldn't complain about that.
More than logistics, right?
Yeah.
The source was big on how a solid morning routine, even if it's short, helps with decision fatigue.
Which, by 8 a.m. as a single parent, my decision-making circuits are fried. What's this decision fatigue thing exactly?
It's like our brains only have so much decision power per day. More decisions, even small ones, it's like draining the battery. Routine automates some of that.
So instead of what's for breakfast, what am I wearing, how do I make this kid eat?
That's hidden.
I can feel my shoulders relaxing already. Okay, next one. This was a favorite. Microtasking. Sounds fancy, but it's so simple.
The best kind. It's making those little bits of time work for you. Source called it the 5-minute rule. Can you do it in 5 minutes? Do it now.
Okay, examples. What's that look like for us single parents?
Those things that pile up and feel huge later, emptying the dishwasher while they brush teeth, wiping counters while pasta boils, a couple emails while your kid's coloring.
Squeezing in productivity instead of letting those minutes vanish.
Ah.
Love it. Okay, now for the one I bet we all struggle with, asking for help.
So hard, right?
It is. But the source, they were adamant. It's not weak, it's not giving up, it's knowing your limits. That's good.
Building that village, but man, easier said than done. I feel guilty, like I'm burdening people. Tips on actually doing it.
Oh, I get it. But people want to help, they just need to know how. Start small.
Yeah.
What one or two things always feel impossible? Carpool, meals, laundry. Be specific instead of help. It's, can you do this?
Yeah.
Takes the pressure off everyone. Okay, that's actually doable. Now, something often seen as a luxury, but for us, it's essential. Self-care. Source had a whole section, and I almost cried with relief.
Rightfully so. It's not selfish, it's survival.
Yeah.
Single parents were burnout central. Source nailed the signs. Exhaustion, feeling overwhelmed, snappy, can't sleep.
Don't forget the guilt. Feeling bad about even wanting self-care, that's a sign right there.
Big one. So, combat it how? Source says, schedule it in, like an appointment you can't miss.
Self-care is always the first to go when things get nuts, but honestly, taking care of us makes us better parents, no.
100%. And it doesn't have to be this huge thing. 10 minutes to read, call a friend, walk, just breathe.
Whatever brings you back to you, even for a few minutes. Source also said something cool. Breaks can actually make you more productive. Sounded weird, but
It's like hitting reset. Your brain gets to chill for a sec, then comes back stronger.
working smarter, not harder. Who doesn't want that? But, real talk, life happens, right? Kids get sick, meetings change, the washing machine, well, you get it.
Murphy's Law of single parenting, right? And that's where the Source's thing about flexibility is key. It's not a rigid plan, it's a framework.
Roll with the punches, adapt.
Exactly. And sometimes that means getting comfy with saying no.
Ooh, that one's tough. Especially for us, we're supposed to be able to do it all, be everything for everyone.
And the Source really pushes back on that. Saying no isn't weak, it's self-preservation.
Protecting your time, your energy, your sanity. Sometimes, no is the kindest thing you can do for them and you.
For sure. It's setting those boundaries, figuring out what really matters. Sometimes you gotta say yes to yourself so you can say no to the rest.
It's about putting ourselves first sometimes, because honestly, a totally burnt out, stressed out parent, not exactly setting anyone up for success, right?
And that brings us back around to the heart of it. Time management isn't just checking boxes or being a productivity robot. It's about making a life that works, but also one that feels good to be living, you know?
Finding that sweet spot, juggling it all without losing your mind, having the energy to actually enjoy those kids of yours, maybe even enjoy yourself a little, no guilt required.
Because you deserve that time, that care, and taking care of you, that's taking care of them too, in a way.
All right, so we've gone deep into this whole single parent time management thing, but I want to leave you with something to think on. The Source, they were all about organizing, planning, maximizing. But what about being strategically disorganized?
Okay, now you've got me curious.
Right. When's it okay to ditch the schedule, embrace the mess, be like, screw it, cereal for dinner, dance party in the living room? Sometimes those unplanned moments are the best ones, the ones they'll actually remember.
Absolutely. It's that balance, structure, and going with the flow. Planning, but being flexible. Trying to do it all, but also being okay with the beautiful mess sometimes.
That's it. So to all you amazing single parents out there braving the whirlwind, remember, you've got this. You're strong, you're incredible, and you deserve a life that feels less overwhelming and way more fulfilling.
And sometimes, the most productive thing you can do is put down the to-do list, forget the schedule for a minute, and just right there in the moment.
Couldn't have said it better.
Yeah.
And on that note, we're wrapping up this deep dive. Until next time, keep exploring, keep asking those good questions. And hey, if your brain's still hungry for more, we've got a whole bunch of these deep dive episodes waiting for you. Catch you in the next